Anywho, this is gonna be part 18. Alright. I think I go this way. Guess we'll find out. Let's see. What is in Meower? Received some ammo, I guess. Blah, blah, blah. There we go. Kind of lost where I was going there. I think I should give this to Emeralda since she doesn't have all her skills yet. What was it called? There we go. Let's just have him do that then. There are a lot of doors that don't look like they go anywhere. Wow. We got some real fake doors in here, Morty. Jesus. Okay. Guess I got a Malphasol or whatever the fuck that is. Can I not leave the shithole? Alright. Alright. Whew. Let's see, meow. Gone past that bridge or whatever. Nothing there. I got a Panalphasol again, and another Aquasol DX. Goodness. Wow, they're gonna have like regular boss type enemies up in here. across another one of these bridges. This kind of looks like the Ethos place. Okie doke. No. Appears we have gotten to the next spot. Hammer says stop. Hammer time. Or something like that. Oh no, he's pointing a gun at Ellie. Hammer says, I'm asking Miss Ellie to return with me. Ellie says, what are you doing, Hammer? Hammer says, don't move, I'm serious. Faye says, don't be silly, what happened? Hammer says, I promised to a man named Krellian. He won't change it if Miss Ellie is returned. Rico says, Hammer, damn you. Hammer says, I really don't want to do this to Miss Ellie. Really, I like her very much. But I have no other choice, because I'm no good. I don't have the strength like Bro, or the smarts like the Doc. Hammer says, I know everyone thinks of me as some annoying handyman who talks too much. I know that. Rico says, Hammer. Hammer says, I'm different from you all. I'm not special like you. A normal guy like me has no choice but to do this. Ellie's mom is walking up. Hammer says, don't move, stop. Medina says, I won't stop ever. My child is in danger. And I'm her mother. Hammer says, yeah. Medina says, I was born and raised in a normal family. I'm not a soldier like my husband and daughter. I've never touched a gun before, much less have one pointed at me. That's why I'm shaking, but I can't stop it. I'm a normal mother, so there are things I must protect. Medina says, Ellie, slowly come here. Don't worry, I'll protect you no matter what. Ellie says, Mother. Oof. Medeli says, Ellie, come here. It's alright. Hammer says, don't move. No. Medina says, it's alright, Ellie. And walks in front of her. Ellie says, Faye. And walks back over to the team. Hammer says, don't go. No. Hammer says, don't. And shoots Ellie's mom. Ellie says, Mother. Hammer's breathing heavily, and then he runs away. Ellie says, Mother? It appears Ellie's mother has passed. And Graf appears with the executioner. Graf says, leave the girl here. Faye says, Graf, damn it, at a time like this. Faye says, everybody get ready. Graf says you've gotten better. However, the executioner says, oh? Eric says, I'll take care of this. Everyone escape now. Ellie says, Father. The executioner laughs and says, you both dote on your child. The executioner is doing some kind of anti-gear arcane arts, and Eric is saying, ah. Eric says, Ellie, go now. No matter what happens, believe in yourself and go on. We'll be happy to help any way we can. That's the least I can do to make it up to you. Ellie, you're Medina's daughter, my daughter, no matter what, so... It appears his gear's been destroyed. Ellie screams out for her father. The executioner says, have I overdone it? You had no time to say goodbye, but don't worry, I'll let you meet again on the other side. Ellie says, how could you do that to my father? The executioner says, to have that much ether control in a non-awakened state, impressive. However, Ellie starts screaming, Rico and Billy as well as Bart and Emeralda and Choo-Choo. Faye says, Ellie, everyone. Id says, hee hee hee. Just keep sleeping. Faye screams. Alright, back on the Yggdrasil, someone says, Seer, the gear's moving by itself in the hangar. Sigurd says, what? More details. And it's here, pretty much, finally, where they confirm that Weltall can turn into Id's gear. Ramses says, "Come on, you devil, I'll be sure to kill you this time." Ramses says, "That's it," and starts laughing. He says he came all this way just to be killed. Krellian says, "There he was." The executioner says, "Yes, it's clear. It's nothing like the half-assed stuff we've dealt with before." Miang says, "I don't think he'll get off the stage easily this time. Fei's mental energy seems to have been weakened. It's similar to the old days now." Miang laughs. Krellian says, "What's so amusing?" Miang says, "His feelings haven't changed over the years. Maybe you've mixed feelings?" Krellian says, "Don't be stupid. By the way, what about Ramses?" Miang says, "You want him to bring her back? Too late. Car left already." Krellian says, it really was a waste of time." No, Krellian says, "I really want to say it's a waste of time, but I guess it's alright. He probably made it easier to control it. Nevertheless," Miang says, "What?" Krellian says, "How can you continue to fight without a chance of winning?" Miang says, "Isn't that what you want? Though I induced you to feel that way. But we're almost there. Our only actual example of success. Let's take good care of him." Krellian says, "What our true intentions are, I don't even know." "We're going. This place will soon be gone." Miang says, "I agree. We should do Car a favor and save him, shouldn't we?" "Ellie, are you okay? Ellie." Seitan says, "Ellie, have you come to your senses yet?" Ellie says, "Seitan, Maria." Bart says, "Yeah, we were saved when we were thrown out into the sky. The rest of my crew were already picked up, and they're in the Yggdrasil right now." Ellie says, "Oh, Fei, what about Fei? Is he on the Yggdrasil too?" "Solaris, that red gear. What's going on, Seitan? What happened to Fei?" Seitan says, "Calm down, Ellie. Fei is alright." Ellie says, "So he's already in the Yggdrasil, right, Maria?" Seitan says, "Calm down, Ellie. Listen, Fei is riding in that gear. That gear is actually Weltall in its true form after transformation." Ellie says, "What?" Seitan says, "Another Fei within him has awakened. Fei and Id are the same person." Ellie says, "You're kidding. I don't believe it." Bart says, "I'm not lying. We saw it with our own eyes. The very sight of him turning into Id." Fei says, "Stop, stop." He screams and is taken over. Ellie says, "Fei is Id? Don't be ridiculous." It appears it basically destroys all of Shivat. Not Shivat, Solaris. Seitan says, "Quick, take cover. The Solarian-based energy descending from the upper atmosphere is equivalent to a reactive weapon." Bart says, "We're gonna get caught up in it? Yggdrasil, get moving." Bart says, woo, we somehow made it. What the? Fran said, it's that red gear, it's coming this way. Bart says, damn, we're spotted. Citan says, Ellie? Bart says, Citan, what now? What should we do? Citan says, huh? What are you asking me to do? Fran says, there's someone on the deck, it's Ellie. Bart says, what? Citan says, Ellie, return immediately. Ellie says, I'm gonna do this, so please allow me to do it. Citan says, it's too dangerous. Ellie says, I know, but it's just like when Faye put his life on the line to save me. It's my turn to save Faye. As long as it helps him, I don't care what happens to me. Citan says, Ellie. Ellie says, Faye. Id says, heh, you've come to die, huh? Ellie says, yes, if that's what will satisfy you, then kill me. Id says, good girl, now die. Id says, let go. Ellie says, Faye, I won't ever let go. Faye, please return to the real Faye. Id says, what? Ellie says, Faye, please. She's using her ether on him. Id says, this woman, I knew it. Faye says, Ellie. Id says, damn it, he's awakening. Citan says, I'm sorry, I didn't want to say anything until I was sure. I was on a secret mission by orders of Emperor Cain to monitor Faye. He ordered me to determine whether Faye would be a threat to the world or not. The contact, that is what the Emperor calls Faye. The Emperor says, this is your conclusion? Citan says, yes, Your Majesty, this is the answer that I chose myself. The Emperor says, Inalabi, you think you can do it? Citan says, yes. Humans have the potential. Managers are no longer needed. The Emperor says, the contact is not our enemy? Citan says, yes, as you say, Your Majesty, if Faye is. The Emperor then says, I leave it up to you. I atone for my crime by doing so. Citan says, Analby, the long-awaited man of God who will take the people born in this world with him to a new horizon. Such is the destiny of the contact. That is what the Emperor called Faye. He did not tell me why he called Faye that, though. Sigurd says, who the heck is he, then? Citan says, he is Faye, but he is also the one who destroyed Elru, caused Kar serious injury, sank the Yggdrasil, killed Rico's subordinates in Kislev. Need I continue further? He is Id. Sigurd says, what did you say, Id? Jesse says, what do you mean? Citan says, he, Faye that is, has dissociative identity disorder, also more commonly known as multiple personalities. Jesse says, he can't pronounce it. Anyway, Citan says dissociative identity disorder, or multiple personalities, is a mental disorder where one person has multiple personalities. Sigurd says that can't be real. Citan says it's very real, and Faye is living proof. I've been watching over Faye, who has a destroyer personality within him named Id. Citan says, in the beginning he was stable. His dissociation did not occur at all while he lived in Lahan for those 3 years, but then after Lahan was attacked, things changed. Little by little, the number of incidences of his dissociation and their length began to increase, and then at Solaris, a complete manifestation of it occurred. Sigurd says, what brought it about? He was fine when he was in Lahan, right? Citan said, my guess is that the appearance of Graf affected Faye somehow. You probably know that Faye worked with Graf as the assassin Id before he was brought to live in Lahan. It was then that Elru, the homeland of Dominia, was utterly obliterated. Graf was intentionally provoking the manifestation of Id within, for want of a better word, Faye. Jesse says, for what purpose? Citan says, to destroy God. That is what Graf was saying. That's all I know, although there might be more to it, but one thing is certain. Graf was encouraging the manifestation of Id, but did not have adequate control over him. Sigurd says, in other words, it was too much for him to handle. Citan says, yes. Jesse says, you said that's all you know, although there might be more to it. What did you mean by that? Citan says, I'll go on to explain that now. Actually, that's the most important point. Satan says to Id, or Faye rather, there is nothing you can do. Id says, you understand well, just as I expected, Satan, or was it Doc? Satan says, I've been wanting to meet you, Id. I wanted to talk with you. I guess it's all due to this machine which cuts the nerve connections. Anyway, what is Faye doing as of now? Id says, Faye? Which Faye do you mean? Satan says, there's more than one? Id stays silent. Satan says, Id? Id says, the one you call Faye is asleep. Satan says, sleeping? Id says, when I'm awake, he sleeps. That's why he has no memory of what I do. Satan says, why doesn't he know? Id says, it's obvious. He's my subordinate. He cannot peer into my memories. He should not, in actuality, even exist. That man forcibly created his personality. Faye is a tenant in the room of cowardice. Satan says, that man? Id says, our father, Khan. He sealed up my personality in the deepest recesses of my consciousness. Through some inexplicable reason, that is when the present Faye was born. Satan says, when you say cowardice, what did you mean? Id says, why ask about him? You think you can do something? Satan says, it's rare to be able to talk to a real schizophrenic. As a scholar, I'm extremely intrigued. Id says, with friends like you, eh, Doctor? I like you, Satan, but he is insignificant. After all, he is just a failure. A coward like him does not deserve to be Faye's existence. A pathetic one who has always fled from reality. He never did one thing against me when I control him, a coward who refused to live. He should have been erased. But he continues to exist. Why won't he disappear? Damn it, it makes my skin crawl just being in the same body as him. Satan says, let's change the subject. I'd like to know how and why your personalities were split. Since you are the one in control, I would assume you know the story. Normally, personalities do not split as they did with you, unless there was some sort of past trauma. It says, you want me to talk about my memories? Don't misunderstand. I haven't given you the right to question me. Just because I'm held down by this machine, don't push your luck. If I really wanted to, I could break the restraints and crush you. Don't forget it. Satan says, then why not do it? Satan continues, shall I tell you why? You don't have complete control over Faye, do you? Your control of him is incomplete. To break those bonds would require a tremendous amount of mental energy. Having used up your energy, Faye would return again. Basically, you would have to leave the stage. Obviously, the day you would be able to return is indeterminate, hence you will not do it. Am I mistaken? Id says, you know me too well. I don't have complete control. Satan says, what's wrong, Id? Id says, you forced me on stage. He's waking. Under normal circumstances, I would have been able to hold on. But I can't. This is all that woman's fault. Her existence makes Faye resistant. Satan says, you mean Ellie? Id says, that woman the same. Everyone must eliminate. Satan says, I don't understand, Id. Id says, you don't need to understand, but when the time comes, just take it as it comes. Reality and death. I'll eventually get to you. Be seeing you. Satan is back at Shivat, and he says, the emotional portion of Faye's present personality was sealed up by his father through some method. And now with the cleared foundation of Id's personality, in computer terms, it's like constructing a mock personality on top of the compatible portion of the OS. That is the reason Faye has no memory of his past. Those 10 or so years are under the supervision of Id. As long as Id does not willingly hand over the memories, there's no way for Faye to know, since he did not even exist before the time Id was sealed up. The present Faye's personality is an underdeveloped one, which was built upon within the 3 years of living in Lahan, studying and acquiring other people's reactions. Hence, he does not know how to fully cope with sudden or emotional situations, continues Satan. Ellie says, you are the one who has spent the most time with Faye, so I would assume you would understand this. Were there not times when he would be psychologically unstable? For example, he would be manically depressive, and then have sudden fits of rage. Ellie says yes. Jesse says, then his present personality is but only a temporary one. Satan says, that's not what I'm saying. The present Fae is one single personality. It is just that structure-wise, his personality was constructed on top of id's, hence placing Fae at a lower hierarchy. That is why when id is active, Fae has no recollection. Jesse says, that means he might eventually be overtaken by id? Satan says, yes, if it were only id and Fae, but that does not seem to be the case. It only manifests when Fae's mental energy is in a weakened state. It is a mystery in itself that the lower level personality of Fae has any control over the upper level personality of id. It is obvious that there exists a third personality. Id calls this existence the coward. In my observation, this coward may be the fundamental personality of Fae. In other words, id's manifestation is not controlled by Fae, but is controlled by the personality known as the coward. Jesse says, that means what? Satan says, at the same time id resents the coward, he also obviously fears it. From a certain point of view, this coward is the one assisting in keeping the present Fae in control. I do not know the reason why this third personality, Fae's fundamental personality, does not come out. If this one awakens, it will become one with id. In other words, there is a possibility that the complete original personality may be restored. Jesse says, is that for sure? Satan says, probably, but I do not know how to awaken it. Before I had the opportunity, id disappeared, and he has since been like that since. Basically, as long as nothing happens to Fae that would challenge his existence, Fae can be himself. But his surroundings do not allow him that opportunity. It'd be best for him to live in a place that is peaceful. And we're still at Shivat. Someone's saying, that is Lacan, no, the Dark One. Graf's second advent. We must restrain and seal him up, otherwise we don't know what may occur. Zephyr says, cease this at once. May we at least wait for Wise Man to return before we make any resolutions. Whoever this person is says, although a tactician, why do you place so much importance on him? I've been silent all this time since Khan's death, since he was directly recruited by the Queen. However, I question why you would use such a person whose principles lack any understanding of sacrifice. Zephyr says, well, that is... The voice continues. You must look at reality, the existence of that power. Bart says, hold on, what's this Graf's second advent? The other voice says, the day of the collapse was brought upon by Graf. Graf manipulated Diabolos into destroying this world, and that power within id is far too similar to Graf's. We cannot allow such a hazard to be set free. We ought to immediately freeze him in carbonite, otherwise expect the worst at any moment. Ellie says, no, but isn't the present Fae the real Fae? If that's the case, then why? The voice says, he is still far too dangerous. Think about it. He single-handedly annihilated Solaris capital. We can't set him free. Jesse says, not only that, in the past there were countless other cities that were destroyed by id. I don't know their intentions, but Graf and Krelian were always involved somehow. And one of those incidents was Elru. It was Dominia's homeland. Solaris' purging of the rebelling city of Elru was done through the use of id to test his capabilities. As a result, not only was Elru taken down, all the Solaris units present were wiped out. Bart says he's responsible for the Yggdrasil. Rico says he was the one who killed my subordinates in the sewers. Ellie says, what's wrong with you all? Aren't we supposed to be his friend? Satan says, it appears everyone else is in agreement. The risk is too great. Ellie says, no, Satan, that's terrible. The voice says, it's decided. He'll be scheduled for freezing tomorrow. Faye says, I heard about it from Doc. Id, who would have ever thought within me lies another me? Ellie says, but you're the same Faye I've always known. You returned to your old self. Please don't be obsessed with it. Faye says, they say I'm the second advent of Graf. The one who destroyed all of this world. It seems Graf used to be a land dweller named Lacan. Ellie says they're not thinking about what they're saying. They're just confused by your powers. Faye says, Graf called me the one who would destroy God. In a way I can understand what he means now. Though my id power isn't good enough, if it has the same quality as Graf's. Ellie says, let's escape. If Graf or the war brings out id, let's go to a place where no war exists. Faye says, if you did that, you'd be... Ellie cuts him off and says, that's alright. I don't have a place to go back either. Faye says, thanks, Ellie, but no. Even if I left the battlefield, there's no guarantee it'll never appear again. Besides, I tried to kill you. You're still okay with that? Ellie says, then you could have killed me if you really wanted to, right? The other you, id's power, is nothing like that, but you still didn't go through with it. You knew when it was enough. Isn't that because your will was in effect? Ellie continues, if you're to be controlled by id, and all those around you become your enemies, I'd still be by your side, because I know it's lonely to be by yourself. Ellie says, I'll open it now, let's go, Faye. Faye says, Ellie... I thought it was about time for you to come, says Seitan. Ellie says, it's no use trying to stop me. Even if it is you, if you get in my way, I'll have no choice. Seitan says, that's no way for a lady to speak. I just came here to see you off. Seitan says, I refueled well tall. We're ready to go any time. Ellie says, Seitan. Seitan says, but Ellie, you cannot use your gear while it is under repairs. Ellie says, what? Then what do I do? Seitan says, you know that Omni gear? What if you borrow it? Faye says, no way, I can't take Shivet's property without permission. Seitan says, Ellie is the only appropriate person for that gear. Nobody else can operate it. Ellie says, never. I won't ever ride it. Faye says, Ellie, what's wrong? Ellie says, I'm so scared. That's why. I'll never want to do it. Seitan says, this is a problem. How about if I ride with you, says someone in the background. Faye says, everyone. Bart says, sorry, Faye. Billy says, I'm sorry too. Margie is sorry as well. Faye says, thanks everyone. Seitan says, now I know you hate to leave, but we should get going before dawn. I did some work on the radar, so it should be fine. Seitan says, they have left. Emeralda says, Faye, where'd he go? Seitan says, they went far away. Emeralda says, I go too. And we cut back to the Gazelle Ministry. The Ministry says, Kane, making a ridiculous setup with Hyuga. He certainly has his deficiencies compared to our digitized existence, which permits us to use a higher level of logical thinking. He is restricted by his human form. Regardless, with just one machine, he annihilated Etranok. His powers must not be underestimated. We're already short of time. The key. Use the key. Krelian says, even you are beginning to feel the pressure. The Ministry says, Krelian, what's Kane's situation? Krelian says the usual life extension treatment. He'll hold out for a little longer. The Ministry says, does that mean we may not make it in time? Krellian says, I wouldn't know. You spoke of using the key. Can you be sure he can be eliminated? And then the Ministry says, we do not know. You know who he is. If he is the contact, there is a possibility he may not transmigrate. It's an organism composed of multiple generations. It's a matter of probability. That does not mean we can just remain idle. Yes, at this rate we are bound to make the same mistake, but we can't fail a second time. Krellian says, don't worry, I've sent Ramses to deal with him. And the Ministry says, what can a failure like him do? He couldn't even defend Etranok. What can you expect from trash like him? Krellian says, even if he has the anima relic? The Ministry says, the relic? Krellian says, the relic we recovered before has been aligned with his gear. There shouldn't be any problems now. He should be able to use his full power. The Ministry says, you're going to undertake the task yourself? Although he transmigrated, wasn't he once one of you? I don't understand. Krellian says, I've thrown away all feelings of human emotion. All I need is her. The Ministry says, isn't that also an emotion? Krellian says, of course. The Ministry says, is that a blunder? Krellian says, you are irritating. Do you wish to cease your existence? The Ministry says, fine, we shall leave it at that. Ramses says, Eliam? Krellian says, yes, this is the place. I want you to bring her here. She's an important woman to me. Ramses says, don't be ridiculous. Why do I have to listen to you? If you need her, go get her yourself. Krellian says, you're quite right, but can you say the same thing after looking at this? Ramses says, this is... Krellian says, your gear and the anima relic have been aligned. This is the Omni gear. Now she is with Faye now. Ramses says, what? Krellian says, losing those battles against Faye again and again, I believe it's because of the difference in the performance of the gears. I think you'll be able to use 100% of its abilities. So how about it? However, if you still fail with this, you are truly trash. Ramses stays silent. Krellian says, Ramses, will you go? Miang says, Kar, are you going? Ramses says, yes, I must get rid of him with my own hands. Miang says, be careful. I believe in you no matter what others say. Faye, what a loathsome name. I worked my way up on my own, says Kar. But he ruined it again. Ramses says, that signal, it's him. I'm not trash. I'm not worthless. Faye says, what kind of gear is that? Ellie says, Omni gear, and according to the readings, it's clearly different from the one Bart's using or the one in Shivat. You think it's the perfect gear? Perfect gear. Ellie says, remember what Seitan said? He said that the Omni gears are controlled by mental waves, the power. The potential varies depending on the rate of synchronism. The numbers indicate complete synchronization. Ramses says, slow, too slow. Ellie says, they're catching up with us. Ramses says, your performance is sad. Ramses continues, I knew you'd be there. Faye says, Ramses? Ramses says, turn Lieutenant Eliam over to me, Faye. Faye says, what? Why do we have to turn Ellie over to you? Oh, I get it. It's Krellian's idea, isn't it? I don't think so. You can't expect me to comply. Ramses says, I can take her by force if you wish, but then don't ever expect to be able to hold her in your arms ever again. Ellie says, Faye. Faye says, don't worry, I'll protect you. Ramses says, impressive words. Faye, I intend to take everything away from you. And apparently, Ramses says, this is your final warning. Hand over Lieutenant Eliam now. Faye says, I refuse. Ramses says, are you sure you want to refuse? It'll be too late for you to change your mind later. Faye says, stop your stupid boasting. Ramses says, well then I'll have to show you if I'm boasting or not. So be it. No holding back, no holds barred. And they fight. Ramses says, come on, what poor form. What's wrong, Faye? In the presence of my vendetta, your well-tall is but an infant. Ramses says, incredible. This undeniable difference in power. Niang, are you watching this? Ramses says, at this rate, and with this power, I can defeat him. Ramses starts laughing. Ellie says, Ramses, I surrender. Please stop attacking us. Faye says, what are you saying? If you do that... Ellie cuts him off and says, it's me he wants. I can't drag you into danger over me. Ramses continues attacking. Ellie screams. Ellie says, stop attacking Ramses. If I'm what you want, just take me. Ramses starts laughing. He says, I can win. I'm not the worthless one. Faye says, Ramses, can't you hear us? Ellie says he's lost himself in the overwhelming power of that gear. Faye, we'd better run. Ramses says, it's over for you, Faye Fonglong. Faye and Ellie scream. They appear to be defeated. Ramses says, I'm not the worthless one, and keeps laughing. Ramses says, I've even taken out the lieutenant. Damn, I forgot my orders. He says, oh well, to hell with Krelian. And then flies off. Somewhere else, Faye says, damn, the bleeding won't stop. If things don't change, at this rate, Ellie's not gonna make it. Ellie says, ugh. Faye says, Ellie, hang in there. I'll save you, I promise. Looks like Weltal's been destroyed. Insert disc 2. Let me see here. ePSXe. Change disk, ISO, Xenogears 2. One sec here. It looks like I might have tweaked that. There we go. Alright. Faye says, dreaming. I was dreaming. Perhaps it may have been but a long forgotten memory. A dream. A memory. Things remembered when one is asleep, things forgotten when one is awake. Where the deepest layers of memories become the outmost layers of one's dreams. Which are reality? Which are illusions? One cannot tell until one wakes, or perhaps they are at the same time both truth and fiction. A vast nebulous with no boundaries, an emptiness equivalent to my own existence. I dreamt such a dream, a long, never-ending dream. Lacan. Lacan, what's wrong? Lacan. In that dream, I was called Lacan. I was an artist. I'd become recognized as a talented artist, and now was painting the portrait of the Nissan mother, Sophia. Lacan says, huh? No, it's nothing. Let us finish for today. You look rather tired. Are you alright? Says Sophia. Lacan says, I'm fine, thank you, but now that you mention it... Shall we stop for the day? You must be the one who is tired, Mother Sophia. Sophia says, enough of that now. When it is just the two of us, would you stop calling me that? Just call me Ellie, as you used to in the old days. She continues, you don't have to be so stiff and formal. Lacan says, alright. Yes, let's do that, Ellie. Ellie. It was a time when she went by such a name. A time when we had met up with one another. A time when nothing mattered between us. It was better that way, just two people together. It was better to have it left that way. Lacan says, I think I might go back home, only for a week or so. Ellie says, oh really? What's the matter? Lacan says, I ran out of paint, so I need to make some more. Ellie says, you're going all that way just to do that? Lacan says, if I don't go there, I won't be able to get the right pigments. Ellie says, oh, then how about I have one of my followers, the Cahal, take you in one of our gears? Ellie says, you'll arrive quicker and be more safe. Lacan says, I lied, I wasn't out of paint. I just feared I would finish the portrait. I wanted to keep on painting forever. I wanted to buy time. She'd probably despise me for that. No, she'd probably just give me her usual smile. She was that kind of woman. Dreams, a life of a man named Lacan, in the lives of countless other men, all but dreams. Now that I'm awake, those countless numbers of long, heart-rending dreams are almost impossible to remember at all. In those dreams, I loved one woman, no matter the day, no matter the era. That did not change, nor did her name. That dream changed me. That dream was the catalyst for me to resolve what my purpose was. I think I know now what I have to do. That long memory of a dream, perhaps it was the memory of my soul. Now we switch to Ellie. Ellie says, I was dreaming a dream, or perhaps it was a memory from a distant past. Those words I was unable to convey. That day, that time, those thoughts I was unable to carry out. Words and thoughts, the connection between the two. Without words, thoughts cannot be conveyed. Without thoughts, there are no words. They are both as vital as each other. They can never be divided, like the wings of angels. Like a man and a woman. An unchangeable destiny. Feelings one wishes one could change. Meeting with a person who would change me and watching myself change. I dreamt such a dream. A long, never-ending dream. Lacan. Lacan, what is wrong? Lacan. In that dream I was called Sophia, Mother Sophia. A symbolic name crowned upon the person who would be the people's hope. A name I was destined to have whether I wanted it or not. Lacan says, huh? No, it's nothing. Sophia says, let us finish for today. You look rather tired. Are you alright? Lacan says, I'm fine, thank you, but now that you mention it. Shall we stop for the day? You must be the one who is tired, Mother Sophia. Sophia says, enough of that now. When it's just the two of us, would you stop calling me that? Just call me Ellie, as you used to in the old days, and you don't have to be so stiff and formal. Lacan says, oh, alright, very well. I mean, yes, let's do that, Ellie. Eliam. I've always liked that name, because when I first met him, that's what he called me. That's my true name. Lacan says, I think I might go home, only for a week or so. Ellie says, oh really? What's the matter? Lacan says, I ran out of paint, so I need to go make some more. Ellie says, you're going all that way just to do that? Lacan says, if I don't go there, I won't be able to get the right pigments. Ellie says, oh, then how about I have one of my followers, the Cahal, take you in one of our gears? Ellie says you'll arrive quicker and you'll be much more safe. I wonder when it started. That he started refusing me, the walls between us, our positions, our circumstances. He refused to recognize these. No, maybe it was me. Therefore, I didn't want them. I wanted the two of us to be ourselves. That's what I wished for. So, I had him paint me. The way I really am. Dreams. A life of a woman named Sophia, and the lives of countless other women. All but dreams. Now that I'm awake, those countless numbers of long, heart-rending dreams are almost impossible to remember at all. In those dreams, I loved one man, no matter the day, no matter the era. That did not change, only his name. That dream changed me. That dream was the catalyst for me to resolve what my purpose was. I think I know now what I have to do. That long memory of a dream that perhaps was the memory of my soul. A mysterious old man says, he's finally awake. Here you go. Faye says, I've been healed. The mysterious old man says, you've been sleeping in this nanoreactor for 3 weeks. Faye says, nanoreactor? Who are you? The mysterious old man says, me? I forgot my name. Some people call me Tara. You seem to have recovered completely. Those were terrible wounds, but maybe your youth and strength helped. Tora said, your friend's wounds are more serious and may take a while longer. Faye says, my friend? Ellie. Faye says, Ellie. Tora says, hey, quit staring at the naked girl and come over here. Faye says, Ellie. My god. Seitan says, Faye. Faye says, Doc. Seitan says, I heard from Tora and hurried right over. Boy, was that lucky. You were fortunate to come down near Tora's facility. Tora said, this is no facility, it's a hideaway. Tora said, Seitan told me about you. I was shocked to see a couple lying down with blood all over them. A couple? Seitan says, at any rate, you had a narrow escape. Faye, make sure you thank Tora. Faye says, Tora, thank you very much for helping Ellie. Faye continues, both Ellie and I were hurt so badly. What is that machine? Tora says it's a nanoreactor. It's a device that can rebuild substances at the molecular level. Not only can it heal humans, but theoretically it should also be able to create medi-substances. Whew! Faye says, is that the same thing as that guy in Solaris? I mean, as Krellian? Tora says, yeah, that's right. Tora says, I was the one who taught nanotechnology to him. Faye says, you did? Tora says, we shouldn't waste time talking about such an unimportant subject. Looks like her treatment is done. Oh, you don't need to come, just wait there. Seitan says, Faye. Faye says, Ellie. Ellie says, Faye. Tora says, why don't you two get some fresh air outside? It should ease the shock of the change. Faye says, I knew it was you. Ellie says, Faye. Faye says, when you came in the room just then, I was afraid you may have forgotten about me and everything else. Ellie says, what do you mean? Faye says, I mean because, Ellie, you seemed a little different than before. Ellie says, has my face changed? Faye says, that's not it. It's more like your atmosphere or impression is different. Just a little. Faye says, I felt something familiar. I felt the same way when I met you for the first time. Some peculiar feeling like we met somewhere before. Ellie says, Faye. Faye says, yes. Ellie says, I don't remember much. What happened after we were shot down? Faye says, it's better that way. Ellie says, I heard someone calling my name. I felt I was covered with something very warm. I remember that clearly. Ellie says, thank you, Faye. Faye says, Ellie. Ellie says, Faye. Tora says, hey, it's almost time for you to come back. There's something important we need to talk to you about. Faye says, alright, we're coming. Faye says, well, Ellie, shall we go see what's up? Ellie says, sure. Jeebus. Apparently you cannot walk through these leaves. They are magic leaves. Alrighty. My goodness. Tora says, how do you feel? The fresh forest air should have refreshed you somewhat. He says, anyway, it's about the removal of the seal. I found out it can be released by using nanotechnology that regenerated you two. Tora says, the nano-assemblers are enclosed in this pod. Citan says, if only we could scatter them all over the world. Tora says, there's an ancient military installation nearby. We might be able to use the mass driver located in there to launch this pod into the upper atmosphere. Once the nano-assemblers are released up there, the convection current should spread them over the world. Tora says, I wish I could go do it, but I'm getting much too old for that type of thing. Then again, it's for your future. An old man should not butt in. You young ones must do it for yourselves. Tora says, here. And of course, I'm not asking you to do it for free. Try this wristband on. Citan says, what is that? Tora says, this is an emotional control device in which nanotechnology is applied. From this machine, shaped as a wristband, nanomachines are infused through your epidermis and into your brain. There they refine the SSRI intracerebral substances such as serotonin that control emotions. Tora says, well, I suppose it's rather difficult for you to understand, but in short, it means that the manifestation of your second personality, id, can be suppressed. Faye says id. Ellie says Faye. Tora says, well, it's all theoretical though. And I did one more thing as well. I installed the same control device in your gear. Citan says, you mean it can release id at will? Tora says yes, it's called System id. But of course, it should not be overused. Use it as a last resort. Faye says, Ellie, Doc. Citan says, Faye, there's nothing you could do. It'll never happen again with Tora's technology, though. He is one of the 3 Shivat sages. Tora says, whether you believe it or not, it's up to you. Tora says, it sounds like we have a guest. Shivat emissary says, Faye, we've got problems. Shivat emissary says, today a peace settlement between Ava and Kislev is being held at Shivat. But Solaris mobile weapons are approaching Shivat as we speak. Please help us. Tora says, that has nothing to do with this young man. Shivat emissary says, Tora. Tora says, you're getting on my nerves for being so selfish. Citan told me about you. You showed up after finding out that it is now controllable. Aren't you ashamed? You haven't changed since then. You only care about yourselves. Tora says, Faye, you don't need to listen to these guys who once tried to kill you. Faye says, but? Citan says, nothing. Ellie says, please go. I'll go to the mash driver. Faye says, Ellie. Ellie says, no matter what happened before, Shivat needs your help now. Although you may be saving some selfish people, there is still the world and its countries with many more innocent people. Please don't forget that. Ellie continues, Bart and his people are fighting to protect those same lives, aren't they? So please go help them. Faye says, are you sure? What about you? Ellie says, don't worry about me, I'll manage. Faye says, but all by yourself? Citan says, I will accompany Ellie, no need to worry. I've brought along my own Omnigear. Faye says, Omnigear? Citan says, yes, Fenrir. It's the same one I brought from Solaris. I left it with Gaspar in case of emergencies. Faye says, Doc, alright, please take care of her for me. Faye says, Ellie, be careful. Ellie says, I will. The Shivat emissary says, we're truly grateful for your kindness, Faye. Tora says, suit yourselves. Faye says, Ignis, right? The emissary says, yes. The goal of the enemy is to destroy the cities in Ignis. They've already destroyed half of Bledavik, and will probably reach Nisan in 4 hours. Shivat will try to drive them back with the power it has. Faye says 4 hours, that's cutting it close. Tora says, no need to worry, Balthazar and I fixed your gear with the nanomachines. It's much more powerful than it ever was before. Why, you should get there in half the time. Faye says, what, is Old Man Bal here? Citan says, Emeralda is here as well. Faye says, this is incredible. Old Man Bal says, we meet again. The host for the spirit of the Slayer of God. I didn't think I would ever work on it again. Faye says, why are you both helping me? Tora says, there are some things you just can't explain with the word fate. You're just gonna have to see it with your own eyes. Emeralda says, Faye, going? Faye says, yeah, I'd better hurry. Faye says, where are you going? The emissary says, Faye, please hurry. Faye says, alright. Citan says, are you sure you want to go through with this? You wanted to live quietly away from battle, did you not? Ellie says, I noticed myself running away from reality. At first, I thought my situation was similar to his. I thought Faye would understand my feelings. I didn't know if my love for him was real. I might have been desperate after losing my mother and father. Citan says, Ellie? Ellie says, despite all that, I may still love him. That's why I want to see what Faye can do, and what I can do. I want us to be apart and think about ourselves again. Ellie says, I want to see how I really feel. Citan says, you've changed a lot, Ellie. What happened in the past 3 weeks? Ellie says, really? I don't think I've changed. Citan says, yes, you have. I should say you've matured, like a mother. Ellie says, excuse me, I'm only 18. I'm nowhere near the age of being your mother. Citan says, sorry, you gave me that impression, that's all. Ellie says, anyway, Citan, I'm going now. Citan says, alright, I'll follow you as soon as I finish off here. Emeralda says, I'll go too. Ellie says, what? Emeralda says, I'll go. Ellie says, Emeralda, I can't take anyone else along with me for something like this. I'll be fine on my own. Emeralda says, if Ellie goes, I go too. Emeralda, have to go with you. Ellie says, Emeralda. Emeralda says, no, I'm going too. Citan says, why not let her go? I'm sure Solaris has a hunch about the limiter. Citan continues, they may interfere, so you may feel uneasy going it alone. I think Emeralda is cut out for the job. Citan says, besides, she's gonna go no matter what. Take care of her until I can join you, please. Ellie says, okay, you win. Let's help each other, alright? Emeralda says, I can do it alone. You just watch. Tora's working in his lab. He says, I thought so. So you were the one who brought Faye and his girl to me. I realized it the minute I saw them. Why, how could I help but not notice? They looked the spitting image of you and her. Yes, just as you yourselves looked way back then. Right, Lacan? Who is also Graf? The Gazelle Ministry, in God knows where, says, what do you mean he's still alive? Krellian says yes. The Ministry says, ridiculous, didn't Ramses shoot him down? Krellian says she was also on the gear that Ramses shot down. I won't have her die. The Ministry says, but there is already a mother, although she may be the antitype as long as the current mother exists. Krellian says, as far as I see it, that's not complete. The Ministry says, quite picky, aren't you? Didn't you say you threw away all human emotions? Krellian says, I don't care what you think. Anyway, as far as he's concerned, I will put Ramses onto him. Any objections? Where is he presently? The Ministry says, Etrinak is destroyed, but part of the memory cube is still active. We should still be able to locate individuals. Wait a moment. He has left the crash site and he is headed towards Ignis. Krellian says, I see, so he left the area. That means it's only a matter of time before the seal is broken. The Ministry says, did you say something? Krellian says, it's nothing, just sit there and wait for good news. The Ministry says, what about retrieving the girl? The key is already beginning to resonate. The time of the resurrection is near. Krellian says, we can get the girl any time. It doesn't have to be now. Let's take our time. Alrighty. On my way to Ignis, I re-encountered him, Karen Ramses. Ramses once again stood in my way in his Omnigear vendetta. It was an unavoidable battle. I released the new function that was added to my Mark II gear system id. Okie dokie. Ramses' absolute confidence was shattered, leaving only his cry of disbelief and resentment. Ramses' machine disappeared into a sea of foliage. Why he was so fixated on me, I know not why, but he did say this: "If only you didn't exist." Alright, in order to disperse the nanomachines, Emeralda and I headed for one of the ruins of the Zaboim civilization, the MASH driver facility, says Ellie. Ellie says, fortunately the facility was still active, which allowed us to proceed on to the central control room with little difficulty. Ellie continues, along the way we saw various missiles and giant rockets that were created during the Zaboim era. They stood like tombstones of that ancient civilization. It was a graveyard for a race of people who destroyed each other over pride and arrogance. She continues, once arriving at the central control room, we met up with Citan, who helped us activate the MASH driver. We succeeded in launching the capsule containing the nanomachines, which would release the seal, the limiter. Anyway, the nanomachines that were scattered into the atmosphere began to multiply and spread throughout the world. They glittered in the sunlight, flowing like a large river in the sky. That glitter would remove the bonds restraining everyone. It was to be our light of hope for regaining back our true freedom. Solaris' mobile surface supremacy weapon invaded the area with great force. Shivat and Nissan's standard gear battalions were no match against it. It was only a matter of time before the Solaris mobile weapon arrived in Nissan. After we pushed back the Solarian gear units, we headed for Nortune to the Kislev capital's administrative district. We went there to obtain our one and only means of standing up against the mobile weapon. My. Let's just continue. The Kislev capital's Nortune Central Administrative District itself was a secret battleship constructed by Bart's ancestor, Roni Fatima, after the Great War with Solaris many hundreds of years ago. The existence of the battleship remained hidden. Later, the ship was turned into a section of the Kislev imperial capital during the founding of the empire. Uncovering this truth from some ancient records, Bart activated the secret battleship in order to fight against the Solarian mobile surface supremacy weapon. The sand cruiser Yggdrasil was actually the center of command and also the main secret weapon of the craft. Awakening from 500 years of dormancy, its true form appeared before us. Commanded by its new master, the secret battleship stood before the mobile weapon, with all of us inside of it. Got some Power Rangers stuff happening here. Super Dimensional Gear Yggdrasil 4. Bart says, transformation complete, let's go. It has a super cannon that uses 9,000 fuel, huh? We we probably don't need to use that. Well, that took like no effort at all. The Solaris weapon was destroyed, which brought a sigh of relief to the continent of Ignis. Peace was signed, and after some 500 years of division, the land of Ignis once again became united. Excitement spread throughout Ava, Nisan, Kislev, and Shivat. The sky shimmered as if to celebrate. By the hands of Ellie, Citan, Tora, and Emeralda, the nanomachines had been dispersed into the atmosphere. That was when disaster struck. Our songs of victory were replaced by the sounds of total pandemonium. In the beginning, we had no idea what had transpired. We witnessed unexplicable phenomena. People from all parts of the globe began to mutate into abnormal forms. It seemed to be triggered when the nanomachines removed the limiter seal that was placed on humankind by Krellian in the past. The human form with its innate abilities released. That's when I remembered what Hammer had said back in Solaris. His words were, "What becomes of the normal humans?" The ministry says they are naturally germinating because the resurrection of God is near. Those who will become the body of our servant, I never knew so many would exist even without using the key. But some of them still have not yet begun to germinate. Are they not destined to be the flesh of God? Or perhaps those are the enemies of God. Let us reactivate the strategic points of the Soylent. At any rate, they are just incomplete mutants. They are useless now in their half-finished form. God's apostles. There cannot be any harm in having too many of them. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Miang says the chains that restrained humankind have been removed because of you. Krellian says that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with our plan. Everything is still under control. Krellian continues, in the event of the explosion in the capital of Solaris earlier, I had set up a nanomachine virus to diffuse into the atmosphere. I know they were eventually going to break the seal, but the timing was a little close for comfort. The current mutations of the humans are an initial response to the virus. Once the virus we spread over the world germinates inside of the humans, they are no longer the same. They change into a controllable form. We need humans that do not depend on the key's invocation in order to awaken. In other words, a being to take the place of the original body of God. Miang says it's like a Trojan horse released at the time of the assimilation with God, a literal virus. But it isn't different, but says, isn't it different from what they intended? Krellian says, of course. We can't let them have it their way. The Ark of God is mine. Miang says either way is fine by me. I'll just side with whichever is the more certain one anyway. The Soylent System, a group of facilities formerly created by Solaris. These facilities existed all over the Earth. It is said that originally that they were used for biological experiments and brainwashing. The people who mutated into what were called Wells, or Reapers, the true form of humans, gathered at these facilities. Some of the humans turned Wells were attacking healthy humans and devouring their flesh and blood. That is because healthy human flesh and blood ease the pain of their sudden molecular changes and let them live longer. Their lives were so short. Soon after, severely mutated beings started to seek the flesh and blood of the less mutated beings. The Soylent System divides and merges those mutated bodies on a molecular level. A set of facilities that recreate a more perfect single life form to be used as a weapon. This was the truth behind the Gazelle Ministry's M plan. Go to those facilities, and you will be freed from unbearable agony. So people gathered, seeking a fulfillment of this promise. There is salvation there. The news spread, although no one actually uttered it. Their mutated blood probably told such people to gather there. We went there to destroy the Soylent System. There, humans fought against themselves greedily for limited pardons to live. It was an ugly battle to keep on living, or so it may have seemed to the casual passerby. But to me, they were desperately trying to live. It was each person's natural human form. They were the haves and the have-nots, and among them were some of my former friends from Solaris. They wanted our flesh and blood. They told us the haves should share with the have-nots. They asked if a have, such as myself, could understand their pain. I couldn't answer. No matter what I said, it would have sounded like a conceited have speaking. Even so, I wanted to relieve their anguish, and I decided to do so, just like the person in the memory of my dreams in the distant past. Then suddenly the system went out of control. The Sufal mass, a monstrous organism still in the process of amalgamation, broke through the barrier of the life support facilities and stood before us. No longer of human form, that which was once human began eating the people gathered there seeking relief. We had to fight it in order to save the people and in order to save him. The eyes of that which was once human looked at me pleading for death to take away the agony. My. Alright, let's do it like this, I guess. Oh, I thought this was going to be gears. I guess not. Let's just have her. Oh, apparently that doesn't do anything. Oh my. Ellie says, Citan, please lend me your sword. Ellie cuts herself and feeds her blood to the dying Sufal mass enemy.
All I can do for you now is ease your wounds.
What the heck? My robot vacuum is crying for assistance in the background. I was like, what the heck? Ellie says, please listen to me. Stop fighting among yourselves. We're all humans. Ellie says, this facility was built by the Solaris Ministry. It was created to implement their no-waste plan. Such facilities were to convert mutated humans into weapons that serve as tools for their ambitions. Just one part of their overall plan of racial purification. Of course, once you enter their umbrella of protection, you can avoid absolute death, but is that human life? Even if you were the only one left, If you're devoid of a heart, what does it all mean? Ellie says, all of you want to be loved and needed by someone, so we look to others. By ourselves, we are lonely, so we try to draw close together to live. That's what it means to be human. That's how people live. A single hand cannot clasp. Or clap. To relieve your pain, I'll give you however much of my flesh you need. Therefore, don't throw away your dignity as humans. Don't let go of your human heart. Ellie, are you okay? Says Faye. What are you doing? Ellie says, you think I'm doing something foolish? Faye says, no. Ellie says, I only did what I could. Maybe I'm a hypocrite, a well-to-do have. Maybe it's only pity for the have-nots. But if I can know the joy of giving out a little of the life within me, then maybe someday it may just be possible that one human can truly give love to another. People can do it. I truly believe they can. That's why. Faye says, Ellie. Does Ellie say Faye? And then Faye say Ellie? And then Ellie say Faye? Probably. Anyway, after that we went from place to place, destroying all the Soylent System facilities located on the surface of the Earth, and freed the people held at each of the locations. All the people that had been mutated were taken in by Nissan, where they received treatment. Those who had mutated only mildly were treated with Tora's nanomachines, which reconstructed and revived them. They were able to return back to their normal bodies. Unfortunately, there were some that had such accelerated symptoms that their treatment was not as promising. Trying to bring them back to a form that resembled a human was the best that could be done. However, mysteriously, they no longer fought each other for survival as they did when they were held by the Soylent System. Of course, the recovery from the physical pain of the mutation may have played a factor, but it wasn't only that. The majority of the people received by Nissan were those that had been admonished by Ellie and had regained their humanity. Between her work in destroying the Soylent System facilities, Ellie also went around and nursed the people in Nissan. She aided the bodies of the mutated and lent an ear to those who had no other place to go for help. She was the very image of the woman who created Nissan, Mother Sophia. It became rumored that Ellie was a reincarnation or a second advent of Sophia. Go to Nissan and you will receive salvation. The news seemed to spread further about, and people came from all over to be saved, both physically and spiritually. Free from the supervision of Solaris, the surface dwellers began to unite in one place. The ministry says the germinating of those destined to be the body of the servant of God. As before, the humans are gathering in Nissan at this rate. Not to fear, this might actually be helpful for us. The time is near. Should we not prepare for those who are to become the fleshly body of God and those who will awaken him? The time has come to activate the geisha key. The ministry is being electrocuted, and they say, what? Cain. Emperor Cain says, what more do you intend to do? I cannot allow you to use the key. The ministry says, Cain, what are you doing? Without the resurrection of God, our purpose cannot be fulfilled. Or are you planning on perishing with God, Cain, without fulfilling our purpose? The Emperor says, your purpose, you were fated to it from your birth. Why haven't you realized that it does not arise from your own free will? The ministry says, I've heard enough. Yes, this is of our own volition. If you still insist on opposing us, and then they scream. Emperor Cain says, have you forgotten? You're my subordinates. I can destroy you if I so desire. The ministry is screaming still. Emperor Cain says, we have already done our part. It's time to pass the helm to the next generation. The people will not perish. Although the initial impact of being released from the limiter seal caused some momentary chaos, everything slowly began to settle down. We then began to search for the anima relics, the catalyst to transform gears into omni-gears. In the past, 10 relics had been recovered. It is said that about half of those are in the hands of the ministry. According to Zephyr, there should be several more relics hidden in the land. We knew then that Solaris would most certainly be searching for them. There was no way we could allow Solaris to have them. We visited the place where, using archaic records, Zephyr and her people have been able to get clues on where the relics were. Following the information we obtained from there, we headed towards the ruins of what seemed to be an ancient civilization. Okay, is that me? And I'm just gonna find a nice little save point. Let's talk to Mr. Gear Shop guy. Oh yeah, it was Titan that has like a sword, that's why. And let's get rid of that stuff. That's fine. Yeah, whatever. Alright, and that is where we're going to end it for probably the rest of the day. We'll see what happens. Have a good night, guys.